Within the past year, the government seized an additional 4,000 acres of land around Groom Lake, the land on which people would peer down on the base. I have interviewed now more than 24 people who worked at that facility, who all tell me bits and pieces of the same story. That story being, we've seen these disc-shaped craft. Some of them have just seen these things sitting in a hangar. Some of them have seen them in flight. But clearly that many people telling you that they've seen something over and over again over all that time period suggests that something really is going on out there. And there are a number of photographs that have been taken out there of odd objects in the sky, disc-shaped objects. There are videos that were taken out there by people who are out in the desert looking to see what they can see.
We saw 6 craft that night, each one in succession. And it was craft number about 2 or 3 that was the most dramatic. That is, it was the one that came the closest, and I took a photograph of it. What we actually saw, Michael, was a craft that was ellipsoidal in shape. It was pulsating brightly, and while we couldn't see the outline of the craft, the strict outline, we saw this very brightly pulsating ellipsoid. And when I snapped some shots, apparently the camera, with its low-end optics, that is, we didn't have a huge magnifying lens, so it didn't bring the craft in so close that would have appeared as a giant blur of light. So, plus, it must have caught the craft in a trough of its pulse, because the photograph captured the craft beautifully. That is the outline of it. So it was just a fluke of being at the right place at the right time and having the right optical setup. The most remarkable sighting that I've had in the last 3 years took place 2 years ago, February of '93. I watched a glowing object ascend vertically from the area south of Area 51, where S4 would be located, hang motionless in the air for about 10 minutes, and then slowly start to descend. All of this while I thought I was watching a illumination flare that was launched from a mortar tube.
I can hear jets in the background. I'll zoom back a little bit. This is looking straight over Steve Medlin's ranch, right here off 375 Highway. This is right over the peaks.
Once it got down to the ridge line, however, it was in front of the hill that it had come up from behind. The hill was about 12.5 miles from my position. It came down to a few feet above the ground at the base of the hill, hovered momentarily, which is still consistent with what a flare might do in calm air. But then suddenly it shot off westward, covered 4.8 miles in 1 to 1.5 seconds, and stopped cold, also about 30 feet off the ground, hovered just long enough for me to get it focused in my binoculars for maybe 2 seconds, and then it vanished right in place. As it started slowly descending, it got down about 30 or 40 feet above the ground and hovered motionless for a couple of minutes, or, well, not a couple of minutes, maybe about a minute. And then suddenly it shot without warning all along the base of the hills over here to a point in front of the higher hills. It did that movement in about 1 to 1.5 seconds. That is just under 5 miles measured distance, and that makes the speed something between 9 and 14,000 miles an hour based on those times. After it hovered for maybe 4 or 5 more seconds, it just vanished in place. But it did cast a glow on the ground, which means it wasn't a holographic projection. It wasn't a trick of some sort. It's unusual that you get something where, I had range. I was able to figure the speed. The speed calculated out to somewhere between 9 and a little over 14,000 miles an hour, depending on whether it was a second or a second and a half. That's the only estimate in the equation.
I had the test flight schedule for what was going on down at S4.
I said, well, how can we see it? He said, I know we can, a place where we can drive in. And we no sooner got out of the motorhome when this thing came up behind the mountain. From that distance, it was just a light. But when I got the Celestron 8 focused in on it, It was a flying saucer.
And just a few minutes ago, we saw one of the government extraterrestrial UFOs fly over there. We all watched it for about 7 or 8 minutes. We're going to stay here for another couple hours here to see if we can show you folks an actual extraterrestrial flying saucer being flown by the government.
We're looking at a craft that was traveling huge distances, both to the left and the right, instantaneously.
I took my Celestron telescope. We took a video camera, got out of the car, and within maybe 10 or 15 minutes, this disc comes up from behind the mountains and starts doing all these fantastic maneuvers. It was a light, a very bright light, and you couldn't see the disc form. But I had my Celestron scope with me, which is 8 inches, extremely powerful. And after a few minutes, I was able to get it right in the finder of the Celestron telescope, and I saw for myself it was a disc. There was no question in my mind, and I just watched it go down behind the mountains.
20 miles from Area 51 along Highway 375 in the small town of Rachel, locals have noted mysterious and disturbing events for years.
People gathered here to discuss the sightings that they'd had. In most places, you can't talk about that kind of thing. You can't find a place to go.
That big around and kind of the color maybe of a flashlight, but a long streak as it came through.
And I saw a yellowish white bright light rise up from the hill back over in this direction, skyward, hang motionless for 2 or 3 minutes, then slowly start to descend.
We'd do a circle and it would go straight up, then it would drop, and it'd go left or right.
I was traveling in a car with my friend down the road, and a very large object flashed over the car and then began to float probably about a mile away from us in the open desert. We got out of the car, ran towards the object, and got within a few hundred yards of a large disc-shaped object about 40 feet in diameter that looked like a saucer with a teacup on the top of it. It glowed a brilliant reddish-orange color and then glowed a real bright yellow color. On one occasion, we thought that the object was actually going to explode because it glowed so brilliantly. It would shoot up to about 200 feet in the air, make a falling leaf motion back and forth, and then go back down onto the ground. This object was amazing. I was so excited because I've never seen anything before like this ever in my life. We got our faces burned. We had a mild case of radiation poisoning after that. We had fevers for 3 or 4 days of about 102, 103 degrees, which we felt was radiation poisoning. And since then, I've been out to the Area 51 area probably some 40, 50 times or so, and have taken quite literally hundreds of people out there.
February the 21st, 1990, I accompanied a crew from Nippon Television Network to witness a test flight of an object over Groom Lake, which is known as Area 51. We arrived at the site around just after sundown because, according to the information given to us on that same day when we visited Mr. Lazar at his residence, he said that if you go there after sundown and stand near the mailbox area of Highway 375, looking south towards Groom Mountains and also to the Jumbled Hills, you will see test flight of these objects. And lo and behold, when we arrived at the scene, exactly around 6:45 or so, we started seeing, we suddenly started seeing an orangish, yellowish light suddenly appear on top of Jumbled Hills and making a motion to the right for about 15 seconds or so. Next, exactly at 8:15 p.m., we had another sighting of the same object that suddenly appeared on top of Jumbled Hills, came up above the hills, and made its appearance, went slightly to the right side, and at that juncture in time, it made a sudden descension and a back turn, which I estimated to be possibly about 5,000 feet sudden descension, a back turn descension. And I had never seen anything like that in my life ever. And it is definitely a test flight of highly unusual object, a demonstration of technology, a propulsion system so exotic right now that we don't know what it was, but it was being tested at that very night.
I can't get this timer to work. You know, I've tried for an hour and a half to get this thing to work, but it just won't, so I just have to excuse me. We're at the little alien right now. And I want you to get this. Let me pan back here a little bit so you can see what it really looks like. It's absolutely just gorgeous from where I'm at. I just had to show you this because I wouldn't want you to miss it. Totally tremendous. You saw it moving, didn't you?
Yeah, sure did. It did a dog leg to the left, then it did an about face straight up, and then it did a dog leg to the left. I mean, to the right.
I get really close in this bastard. He gets real strange on me. It's totally fucking round, Phil. This is it, dudes. This is what we came to see. I got both my eyes open.
This.
I saw the dude move.
Hey, he's this.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, Phil's got the binoculars on him. He says it's a disc. Now I'm going to get an extreme close-up on him.
Oh, fuck. They did it yet.
That's it, an extreme close-up.
Take a look.
No, I'm filming. You look. Now, this guy's not moving, but we saw him move.
Yeah. There's a Ford twin cab, and he's going up by the Atomic Energy Road.
I'm just trying to aim this by eye. I'm looking through the viewfinder. Good Lord, can you see that? There it is. You see that? That's above the Groom Lakes. That's not even down on the dry lake bed. That's above it. Sucker just picked up and took off, and he's moving. It's just powered up in the distance. See that? That's Billy Boy. It's an island over there. I'm doing a full zoom right now for you. Billy Boy Island. Yeah, it's a full zoom of Billy Boy Island. Actually, what should we name this saucer, huh? Oh, see? Just dimmed out. Okay, now listen.
Wow, it just did this.
Okay, now listen, you guys. We're at the same place that you saw in the movie where all the trucks are stopped and the Billy Goodman shows at. We're in the exact same spot. Okay? And where you guys saw the saucer go up towards the left and then up again, well, this is over about 20 miles from there, towards the left.
On this side of Area 51.
On this side of Area 51. That's right. We can see these things plain as day.
There are at least 8 black programs flying out of Groom Lake, out of Area 51. That does not count the B-2 bomber because it's not a black program. It does not count the F-117, which is virtually a white program today. There are at least 2 very, very high-speed aircraft that have been reported since 1982 is when we've heard the first reports of them. One of them is a small aircraft. It goes approximately Mach 4 to Mach 6. There's an aircraft that has been tracked out of the Bay Area TRACON in Oakland, California by the Federal Aviation Administration Center at least 8 times since 1986, flying in excess of 10,000 miles an hour going through controlled airspace, and a very, very large aircraft at that. Besides the 2 high-speed aircraft, there is a stealth or low observable electronic warfare aircraft. It's been referred to as Excalibur. There is an aircraft that is designed to fly very, very high, but very, very slow and very, very quiet. There's been some rumblings or reports that it's a flying triangle, much like the canceled McDonnell Douglas General Dynamics A-12 that was going to be an attack aircraft. Just recently, out of Lancaster, California, taken off from Palmdale, which is Air Force Plant 42, and that's where the B-1 was built. The B-2 bomber is being built there. The F-117 is being serviced there in the U-2 operations. There has been at least 3 sightings of triangular-shaped aircraft being launched out of that area.
They made no noise, and just the people just happened to look up and see these things leaving the area at relatively low altitude, but again, no noise. Another individual who was an NCO, an E9, which is the highest grade you can get as an enlisted man. He's a chief master sergeant in the Air Force. Was a safety specialist. He had 3 different tours of duty at Groom Lake on various programs. Now, he had no connection with my friend who worked on the other black programs. We were talking, I interviewed him at Nellis in 1985, 86 time frame. And I said, what's out there? And again, he looked me straight in the eye and he said, we have things out there that are literally out of this world. I said, explain. He said, I can't. But trust me, see, we have things that are better than Star Trek, better than anything you can see in the movies. So are the airplanes. He said, I can't comment.
There are 4 aerospace covert facilities. This is what we call the aerospace connection in the Antelope Valley and also the San Joaquin Valley. Rockwell in the San Joaquin, Lockheed, McDonnell Douglas, and Northrop in the Antelope Valleys. And these operations are extremely suspicious. They have a surface cover activity. They call themselves RCS testing sites. That stands for radar cross-section. And apparently their presumed purpose is to test various aeroform designs atop pylons with radar cross-section. And the disturbing part is that we have found out with incontrovertible proof that there are extensive underground facilities. And for example, Northrop, we have documented to have 42 levels underground. Now, if this is radar cross-section testing, which is above ground, why do they need 42 levels underground? Also, at the Lockheed facility out in Hellendale, we had an investigative reporter who saw a blueprint of the building plans for that facility that he wasn't supposed to see. It showed that they had an extensive underground facility 300 feet down. And when this reporter interviewed the person who was in charge of that facility, they had a nice, pleasant interview until at the end he told the director that he was aware of this extensive underground facility. And what could he tell him about that? And immediately the man's eyes grew wide and he said, this interview is terminated. So it's very suspicious. And then, of course, we have other reports of people in the area who say that they have seen alien craft emanating from these facilities and terminating at these facilities.
Area 51 has 3 tiers of security system. The outer perimeter security, the inner security, and also the regular military security, plus automated security system. But we're talking about outer perimeter security. Area 51 is using semi-private security firms such as Wackenhut Corporation. We call them Wackenhut SS because basically it's the way they operate. Wackenhut SS, of course, means Wackenhut Special Securities Corporation, of course, and they are assigned to guard the outer perimeters of Area 51. And they, because of the status of being a semi-private status, they don't wear any insignias of any kind. They wear military camouflage uniforms and carry machine guns and so on. They ride unmarked four-wheel blazer type vehicles, and they harass citizens who even dare to drive on any of these dirt roads south of the Highway 375. We have every right to be driving on these public lands as long as we don't cross the warning sign area. We were harassed by dangerously maneuvering helicopter over public land on May 16th, 1991. A group of us, altogether 18 of us, were in a 7-car caravan Just coming back on Groom Road after taking pictures of the warning sign area, we were coming back to Highway 375. But suddenly, we heard a thunderous sound overhead, as if a railroad was passing over our cars. When we looked up, there was this military helicopter that appeared and came about 5 to 8 feet above our cars on purpose, harassing us, intimidating us, and for the next 15 to 16 minutes, we were trying to get away from this helicopter. We were frantically trying to drive and go away from this area, and we were buzzed by this helicopter continuously for 15 minutes. On one occasion, this helicopter circled around as we were driving and came front of our cars at almost low level and just scared us and continued this illegal maneuvering, endangering our lives.
Where is it? Where is it? There it is.
Jeez. How can you see anything with it?
It went behind the mountain. There it is. There it is.
Okay, one more time. Okay. That's flying over there. I see one. Huh? I see one. Yeah, it's test flying. It's going to continue for the next stop. Right there it is. See it? Yeah, it's flying over there. Yeah, it's moving back and forth. Take a look at here. Yeah, take a look at it. It's at the light. See, when I see dark hovering over there.
I had to put the gain on just to see it. What, am I better?
Yeah, right.
Fortunately, this isn't doing me any good.
Yeah. I could do it, yeah, do it on the on it. So I think I think so.